Stay glued to your seats because up next is a very, very special address titled Time for Bharat, Closing Women's Economic and Social Barriers. Our speaker is a strategic counsel to the board, CEOs, and investors. He is a leadership coach to founders and CXOs. He is an independent director on boards across multiple sectors. As a media columnist, he writes on public policy, regulations, finance and economy, digital economy, human capital, and has co-authored and edited Time for Bharat, a book on public governance thematically focused on India at 100. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Srinath Sridharan.
Hi, good afternoon. Hearty congratulations to all the winners. As they say, an award is a pat on the back for the past, but kick in the rear for the future. So with that, I think the winners have it ahead of them. Thank you, Team ET, for the invite. Glad this topic is not on Women's Day as a Women's Day special. We still are talking about women empowerment and social change. The first contradiction I want to set here, my job is here is to contradict, to provoke you. The first contradiction is this. This very gathering that all of us are here, we don't represent beyond, let's say, 5-6% of India. We are educated, we are in the formal workplace, we are employed, we earn, we have wealth, we have traveled, we continue traveling. We have access to networks like this, be it the brands, the media, people. And yet, we have a duty. What is that duty? How do we empower other human beings? That's a catch. So let's start with our contradictions that we use. We say India is rich, Bharat is poor. We say India is educated, Bharat is illiterate. We say India is skilled, Bharat needs skilling. We say India is urban, Bharat is rural. How so untrue? Very, very untrue. End of the day, when I titled this as Time for Bharat, it's titled after my book, Time for Bharat. These are biased stereotypes about India and Bharat. If our rural and urban intersection did not meet, none of this is possible. In our teams, in every team that won today, there are probably thousands of people who are not in Tier 1, Tier 2 cities. And yet, they're contributing for your success and for you to receive the award here. What do? We find it very, very easy to call it Bharat for things we don't understand. And we don't realize much of our GDP and the future growth and potential comes from there. Let's start about some of the other contradictions. In the last 20 years or so, we have had a huge transformation in digital India, especially the 10 years or so. And yet, a lot of stereotypes about women has not changed. We expect women to care for children as a primary caregiver while the husband works. And yet, most of the proactive organizations have paternity leave. How many of them actually take that? Paid employment. If you look at beyond the top 10 cities, most of the smaller cities, paid employment is still looked down upon for women, which is why they end up working unofficially in the informal sector. Social norms expect women to be wife, daughter-in-law, mother. What about where do we bring that individual feelings or emotions into it? And yet each of our Bollywood, each of our streaming videos showcase a different India that's outside of those top 10 cities. Where is the conversation about women? Apart from Women's Day, how many times do we actually converse about women? We speak about women empowerment. When will we have a scenario where we don't have to prefix gender whenever we say leadership. We say women leadership. We don't say male leadership, right? We assume most of the leaders are male. Why? I mean, there's a stereotyping that's in this room. All of us have that stereotyping. We prefix gender to leadership. That's a big mistake. That's a contradiction, the other contradiction that all of us carry. Let me compare China. I mean, the big elephant in the room, and generally that we don't like the topic of comparison with China. Over 60% of the GDP comes from MSME and SME. What about India? That's a potential that we have. And who is going to be the change driver there? In China, it's women ownership of all those businesses. It's women entrepreneurs of all those businesses. In India, we have its fundamental challenge. We have loan schemes available across MSME and SME and for women entrepreneurs. Probably we need more literacy around it. We need more communication around it. Compare it with all the HR manuals, HR communication, and the policies that each of your organization has. There's probably an intranet, there's probably an access to various manuals that you have. But assuming that if there were not, how will you spread that information? And I think those are the learnings that we need to take from corporate India to middle India. Another contradiction, we celebrate women, we celebrate women workforce, we celebrate the positivity here. But guess what? Less than 5% of Indian corporates have women CEOs. Less than 11% of Indian board seats are women. If everything were to be so nice, why not 50-50? When will we have representation that's proportionate to our population gender ratio? And I think it's also representative of the low women participation in our labor workforce in India. For fundamental challenges of social stigma, there is an expectation women in small town India still finds it difficult to make a decision or to have an ability to participate in formal workforce. But as a contradiction, what's happening is the top 10 cities, we are finding the rise of gig economy increasing at a rapid pace. 23% of the newer jobs in the last 5 years have been in the gig economy. If you thought gig economy was only about Swiggy and Zomato, please wake up. Most of us who don't align to a single brand or work with multiple brands are gig knowledge workers. Somebody like me is a gig knowledge worker. I work with multiple companies, I work with multiple clients, not associated with single one. Yet, a lot of us kind of find it a stigma to say we are a gig worker. How do we then translate it into bringing more women participation in labor workforce? What we thought was done and dusted, simple things like there are enough correlation to talk about education, access to education at primary school, secondary school, and college education. There are still challenges of issues that you can correlate in socio-economic development along with fertility rates, age of marriage. It has correlation with economic growth and urbanization. And yet, we still talk about women empowerment, not thinking about how can we empower women in the non-top 10 cities. The biggest empowerment in my mind was the right to vote. Many countries, including Switzerland, got the right to vote for their women only as late as 1970s. India, I think we'll have to take great pride saying we've been very proactive in that. Yes, we have made a lot of progress for talking openly about women's safety, women development, women empowerment. But what about when do we bring the rural and the semi-rural India into the conversation? We don't. We use words like cottage industry, we use words like the native intelligence, native workforce. They are equally powerful. They're equally contributing to our GDP. What are those issues? The issues are very simple. There is what about access to employment or right to employment, right to entrepreneurship, working conditions. We all speak about safety and job security. Can we bring it to the informal sector for women? Wage parity. Do you know the biggest discrimination across India when you look at the workforce It is for women in the informal sector where the wage parity is. For simple reason, they're either exploited. And I can give an example of most of us. I mean, it's a very, very embarrassing example that all of us probably practice in real life. We all employ at least 2 to 5 domestic help in each of our household. It could be somebody coming in as a maid, somebody as a nanny, a driver, somebody or the other, somebody who's a caregiver. How many times do we actually have a conversation with them about their families? How many of us actually offer them a hot meal when it is made and share it with them? We always give it as an afterthought after we have finished our meal. But yet, we will come here and give great presentations to talk about empowerment, of how we are all equal. I think some things have to change. That's another contradiction that I wanted to raise. The last, but not the least, more important are the rights. We generally speak about right to vote, right for financial rights and access, and yet our financial literacy is so low. COVID was a great eye-opener for most of us. I think personally, each of us, just like I do, would know of enough people who fell sick, lost their loved ones, and something that struck me when I looked at certain data, irrespective of education, earning capacity, and wealth. In a lot of cases, the male had the dominant primary bank account, and the spouse did not even know it or had access to it. And yet we think we are empowered, right? Some things have to change. So which means financial rights. It's not just about ability to earn and spend. It's about, do you control your asset? Do you have financial assets? I think that's important as well. Literacy, something changed in India in the last 7-8 years. I think most of us today will find our fellow citizens who are keypad literate rather than literate. And that's also changed and disrupted a lot of business models, the way we behave. How do we use that to protect, again, everybody? More importantly, children and women. Because the moment it is also, there are enough statistics which show that on social media, the moment somebody knows it is a women's handle, there are far more cyber bullies and trolling that happens. How do we protect that? How do we change mindsets? I think it's about entitled human beings. I think in short, when we speak about empowerment, it's about entitlement. How do we change? Each of us at times feel entitled. A classic case, which I think some of our television serials also reflect, it's okay for men to relax after a hectic day. But the wife, you might be a manager, a gig worker, you might be a director, but you're assumed that you will have time to balance your kids' homework, the PTA meeting, and a dinner that's where you have guests coming at home. When do we get out of that? So some of the things that I think we'll have to start. And again, research has shown that there was a Pew research which happened last year. And it shows that very interestingly, overwhelmingly, including male respondents to that research, have said that they want more education for male in terms of shame somebody without proper access to or recourse to their own justice. More importantly, I think for every gender specific, for example, today we celebrated best women's workplaces. How do we go to gender neutral or gender fluid workplaces? I think that should what corporate India should look at. And I think only one aspect, one word that comes to me that can make that change. I think it has to start with self-respect. Most of the time you find somebody who's been bullied and who's kind of affected, they have low self-esteem, so low self-respect. What can we do to add to a better self-respect to each of our colleagues, peers, juniors, seniors? If we can do that, I think that's when we are saying we are doing better empowerment. Respect has to start with self, then others. In short, can we treat others the way we want to be treated? And we forget that basic philosophy of social behavior. Can we treat everybody the way we want to be treated? And I think that's where the sense of entitlement kind of evens out. And yet we forget that very basic things. So The point was, how do I bring the contradictions in each of us whenever we speak about Bharat, whenever we speak about social changes, and more importantly, the social barriers are what each of us make it to be. It is though we constitute the society. We are the individuals, we add up to each of those barriers. And yet, we prophesize, we write, we blog, we celebrate things. So which means that most of us in the society today have a contradictory, what I call as personal ethics and professional ethics. And let me qualify. We'll be very ethical at work. No cheating, everything recorded, everything is fine. You break the signal, you're okay with paying $50, $100 because you don't have time. And we rationalize most of the time it's okay. And India is the only place, for all the HR folks, please forgive me, I see a lot of HR appraisal forms and a lot of assessment forms. And India is the only place, only market, I work with few other markets, where I have come across a very interesting question in interview assessment. On a scale of 10, rate the candidate's integrity. Absolutely mind-boggling. Either somebody has got integrity or doesn't. I can't say that the candidate has 98.2% integrity. And yet, this is the same form which has been in use for probably 20 years. Nobody updated that. So you have to go back and ask and question every little thing. We set up the POSH committees, we set up various committees around HR, but are we including or are we excluding more people using those committees? I think, again, we need to do it. Every time we say we do something about women as affirmative actions, probably we are pissing off more number of women themselves. Are you saying that they are not equipped and they are not capable? They are. And yet our behavior is Women's Day. Everybody. You ask a PR agency, they'll be flooded first week of November. Enough folks want to give quotes and press releases on women empowerment, Women's Day. What about the rest of the 364 days? I think, again, the same contradiction, that it has to be internalized. We don't internalize. I think we're all become prey of Archie's card, right? I mean, we need different days. We will so soon have Mother's Day, Mother-in-law's Day, Mother-to-be Day, Foster Mother Day, something or the other. We want to celebrate. It's good to celebrate. But can we carry it forward for the rest of the time? I think that's the spirit that we're speaking about. And if I go back to the genesis of what was Bharat, it was a civilization. It was an ideology. We had civilizations, we had the entire world coming to India, be it Takshashila and others, for education. And of course, the last 50 years, we've had the brain drain where we go out to study and come back. 1/6 of world's population and not having 1/6 of world's wealth. That's a scenario that corporate India faces, right? How do we solve this? Very simple. We need more talent, we need more empathy. And I think you find that in women. How do we encourage them to get on? And which means that we'll have to go beyond the conventional welcome women back to work or welcome working mothers back to work. I see a lot of those exercises, great exercises. But if you really scratch the surface and talk to most of those participants, they're not happy. You're doing your tick mark in the corporate world, saying that I'm getting women back to work. Does it really solve their problem? No, it doesn't. Because you have something called HR policy, it has to fit in. Go beyond and ask questions. And I think marketing teams, and especially consumer research teams, are great allies for the HR folks. Get out and see what India is about. A lot of talent, a lot of wealth. If you're in the financial services space, especially in the wealth management, that's where you need to tap. That's where the money is. Because there's no competition. Nobody speaks to them. They have money. And yet we don't. So when we say time for Bharat, it's a lot of time for us to wake up. In the name of urbanization, we think we have solved for most of it just because we live in fancy houses and fancy cars and fancy offices. Have we scratching the surface for India? Not really. And the contradiction that we find. So with that, I want to stop and thank you for being a wonderful audience. And if there are any questions, glad to take them. Thank you.